Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to our Tuesday Talks with Greg. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Greg Jamiel, and I want to welcome you to our talk tonight. I want to check in and make sure you guys can see me and hear me okay. So if you're here, just put a little like symbol on there or leave a comment saying hello, and I'll know that you're able to see and hear me here. Wait just one second here. All right, it looks like people are able to see the video and hear me okay. And if you can leave a comment, we'll get rolling. All right, there we go, Jamie. Thank you so much. I can see you on there. Hey, Jim. Hey, Heidi. All right, perfect. So we're good to go, everyone. Welcome again to our Tuesday night talk. I am really excited to share some information tonight with you. Tonight's talk is going to be all about what is ceremony. Now, for those of you watching this on Facebook, make sure you like my Facebook page so that you can watch the next ones. Every Tuesday, we do these talks from 5 to 5:30 Pacific, 8 to 8:30 on the East Coast time. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click the little bell icon so you'll be notified the next time another video gets posted. I want to first go over some housekeeping things. Real quick, I'm super excited. I've just launched the Balancing the Chakras month-long program. It's a course that's available on my website, and we'll be beginning this course on Monday, April 19th. Now, there was some confusion about this. Some people thought that it was going to be live in person the whole time. That's not the case. I'll briefly run down how this course will work. So each week, you'll get an email saying there's a bunch of new videos for you to go look at. And between Monday and Sunday, you have the whole week to watch all of those videos, including yoga classes, guided meditations, definitions and talks on the chakras, and there'll be some journaling processes as well in there too. On Sunday evenings from 5 to 5:30 or whenever your questions are answered, I'm going to be hosting a live Zoom webinar for those members who are in the Balancing the Chakras program so that you can ask your questions live to me in that group. And if you're not in the US, if the time change is a little crazy, we have a few people from London joining us. So they will just email in their questions and they'll just watch the recap video afterwards. So I just wanted to clarify some things with that. There are two different options for this course. One is self-guided, and then you do the Q&A on Sunday with me. The second one is if you have a specific issue or focus of your practice about learning the chakras, it's a VIP access. So basically, every week you and I will meet for 30 minutes to go over your progress and provide different suggestions for you as you're working through this course yourself. So there's two different options there. And of course, email me if you have any questions or needs or desires about this program. I want to make sure that you're fully supported and that all your questions are answered. So that being said, let's talk about ceremony today. Now, as I was doing this course, the Balancing the Chakras course, I had a lot of content in there on the page, the sales page that you can read about the course. And my best friend was saying, you know, I don't really understand what you mean when you say ceremony. You keep saying ceremony and I just don't understand it. So I wanted to kind of, dedicate this video, this talk to that very topic. And I understand I have been on this journey for a long time and I refer to certain things like ceremony and energies. We've been talking a lot about vibrations. And some of these things for people just starting out may be over their head or they may feel it's over their head. So at any time during this talk, I'd love for you to write any questions that you have in the comments and I'll see them pop up and definitely address them for you. The Merriam-Webster definition of chakras, of ceremony, is a formal act or series of acts prescribed by ritual, protocol, or convention. Now that's the textbook definition. And most of the ceremonies that we have experienced in our life are wedding ceremonies or funerals, graduations or baptisms, things like that, where you get dressed up, you go to a specific venue or a church or a place, and you witness this ceremony happening, and then everyone goes home. My definition of ceremony, and obviously I've been to those ceremonies too many times, but I have a slightly different terminology when it comes to ceremony. So I spent some time and I wrote this out here. So to me, ceremony happens whenever I make the shift into connecting with my higher self or step into sacred space. It's an opening It is opening my awareness to the energies around me and connecting with them to grow and evolve as a person. So, oftentimes I will refer to ceremony in terms of a yoga ceremony. I used to teach yoga a lot, and my class was actually called Yoga Ceremony. So, in that yoga class, together, I would light a little bit of incense in the beginning. I'd ask everyone to take a few breaths and get grounded to what we're going to be doing together. We'd put an intention out for the class. So, for example, I may say, in this class, we want to connect with our heart. And so, every breath that we take, I want you to be feeling the heart, breathing around the heart, focusing your attention on the heart. And so, during that process, it's like encouraging you and me to step up into that connection with our highest quality of awareness to what's going on. So if you look back at those ceremonies that you may be familiar with, like a wedding, for example, when you go to a wedding, everyone dresses up, and when the bride walks down or the groom walks down, whoever it is, oh, everyone kind of like sees them and smiles, and you're all aware, and then the person doing the ceremony, doing the wedding, everyone's listening and paying attention. You're listening to the vows of the people getting married together and celebrating that at the end. And so again, it's to me, ceremony is a hyper awareness of your body, of the energy and tools that we work with, and what's happening around us. Now, over the course of these past few weeks, I've been talking a lot about different energies and different vibrations of the way we speak and the thoughts that we have, how those vibrations echo into reality and help form the reality that we're experiencing in this world. I want you to understand that what I mean by that is quite literal in some instances. So, when I'm talking about a vibration of anger, when you hear somebody yell, rah, there's a vibration that goes with that. There's a certain tone that you hear that sound, and it affects your body in a certain way. If someone was yelling, hey, hey, you kind of like stop for a minute and you look around and you get hit with that energy. Now, if I said the same thing and said, hey, you, what's going on? It's a much different energy. There's a much different vibration there. And so we are always interacting with different energies. And if you're not used to framing it in that wording of energies and vibrations, it may seem a little strange when I say that. But that's basically what I'm getting to. What I'm getting at when I say energies and vibrations, I'm relating to the feelings that you feel when someone's speaking to you, or the feelings that you may feel when you think about a certain issue that you're trying to move through or process. A lot of us have experienced grief. And so the grief energy, there's a certain vibration to grief. And there's a certain feeling that happens when we are grieving, when we're in the process of grieving. And so all of these energies, when we become aware of them, we're able to navigate our life with a little bit more ease and grace rather than always reacting to the situation that we find ourselves in. So I hope that kind of clarifies that up just a little bit there. I also want to say, I talk about being fully embodied too. And so this whole talk, I just want to reframe some of these wordings so that you can understand them 100%. So someone else had mentioned the word embodied. And what I mean by that is if I am fully embodied, if I am aware of the energy that's running through my body. Like for now, for example, right now I have a light on me, I have the camera here, and I have all of you guys at home listening and watching. I'm a little nervous. I always get a little nervous before these things, and I catch myself kind of rambling and talking without taking a breath because there's nobody here to interact with. It's just me in my bedroom with my camera talking to all of you at home. And so what I have to do is become more embodied in this moment and say, hey, Greg, take a breath. When I do that, it slows everything down and I'm able to formulate my thoughts in a complete way. And I'm able to deliver the messages I want to deliver with you in a way that's easy to understand and easy to digest for you. So that is an example of me being embodied in this moment. When we do a yoga practice, for example, when I am fully embodied and aware of how my body's moving, and let's do a different example instead of a yoga class, because maybe not everyone has done yoga, but a lot of people have moved things around their house. And I have found people have been injured by lifting up heavy boxes or moving things over. and they just don't understand. They pick up a box, oh my God, my back, oh, my back went out, or whatever. I'm not saying that you're not fully embodied, but when we are fully embodied and we know, okay, if I'm going to pick up a heavy object, I need to bend my knees and lift with my legs and not put that pressure on my back, that excess pressure. Most times when we're fully embodied, we avoid injury and we kind of move in a way that is moving with nature and it's moving with the energy rather than a jarring action that later on we go, oh, my back is so sore from that. So that's one example of being embodied. I also want to talk about the act of setting intentions. So, a lot of the work that we'll be doing in this Balancing the Chakra course is becoming more aware of the 7 areas of our life and of our body that the chakras inhabit, and also the way those chakras interact with each other. And when I was in school to become an Ayurvedic practitioner with my friend Kelly over there, who's listening, I remember our teachers at the beginning of class would say, okay, everybody put your pens down, put both feet flat on the ground, close your eyes, and take a few breaths. And the person teaching would then either recite a mantra or a prayer or an intention or something that may we open our minds and digest this information and bring it into our body and let it integrate with us so that we can understand it in a really solid, pure way. So that's one example of becoming embodied when we're trying to study and learn something new. So even now, I'll ask you at home, take a full breath in this moment and maybe close your eyes for just a second and say, I really want to listen to the words that he's saying and try to make those correlations to what they are in my own life too. So let's do that together for a moment. Take that full breath and then maybe exhale with your open mouth. Just let it out. And now knowing that as we go forward in this talk, you're being fully present and your eyes are open, your ears are open, your senses are there, listening to the words coming out of my mouth, and also feeling what comes up for you when I give specific examples or when I talk about some of these things, because that's the whole point of this. We're all relating to a certain energy that runs within all of us. And the goal for most of my teachings and the things that I share is to bring healing not only to myself, but to those of us in our community. I have used these tools and techniques and have felt better because of them. And that's part of the reason why I'm sharing them with you all, because I want you to be able to feel the benefit that I felt. It may work, it may not work, but it's worth a try in this life to try to connect with something greater than our own being and our own body. Now, there are 2 types of callings that people receive when they're working in this type of energy. One is to be a ceremonial leader, and they will go through trainings and initiations and do different practices. Like for myself, I've spoken before about the vision quest that I've done and how I've earned the right to be a pipe carrier because of doing that for so many years. And so that's my calling. I definitely felt that I not only want to connect with this sacredness for my own benefit, but I want to be there from my heart to help and support each of my friends in my community find their own form of healing and however that looks for them. So that's one type of calling. The other type of calling is someone who maybe doesn't feel like they're meant to be a ceremonial leader, but that they want to connect and become more aware with the energies of nature. So we're in springtime right now, and if you look outside your window, most likely if you're in the northern hemisphere, you're going to see flowers coming up, the sunshine coming back, the day becoming longer. We just switched our clocks forward last week. And all of this looking outside and becoming more aware of how nature is blooming and blossoming, it's the same thing for us. If you think of yourself on a hot August day, running around outside and maybe going hiking or going to the beach, it's a much different energy than we feel in the wintertime when we have a blanket on and we're sitting by the fire and we're drinking some good wine or coffee or tea or something and hanging out with our friends. So there's different energies of nature, and we are a major part of that. So in this time, we're having this reemergence from winter, and we're able to connect to that powerful energy of spring. And it's almost like a surfer riding a wave. If we're able to use ceremony to connect with the energies that are already happening out there, it's easier for us to hop on our board and kind of ride those waves of spring and bring some real good motivation and change and evolution to our life. So that's what I mean by connecting with nature and watching outside how nature is moving and evolving. Because as it goes outside, it's happening inside as well. For anyone who has some good tips on nature there, please share them. Have you guys been hiking? Or I know I've been going out hiking a lot more too with the sunshine that's been coming. And here in Washington, we've been having also some hail. Yesterday it like downpoured, and then 2 hours later, super sunny. So it's a little sporadic that way. Now, Carmen had wrote in on our Facebook page, a healing community with Greg Jamiel. She wrote a question there. She says, life gets in the way of doing daily ceremonies. So, how do we avoid that? How do we create more time for these ceremonies? Now, a lot of us, if you're here, you're wanting to learn something new. You maybe feel something in your life that there's something sacred out there, and you're curious as how to connect with that energy. When we begin to do these daily practices, for someone new, it may seem like a lot of work to, light a fire and lay out your altar and set your intentions and do all these things. But what I want to remind you is that it doesn't have to be a big deal. We can take a moment, 2 moments, to really just kind of close our eyes, get centered, and feel that connection to our own breath. And if we do have time to meditate, or if we have time to do a yoga practice, Deborah just wrote walking the dog. That's a perfect thing. When you're out walking the dog, it's like you can look around in nature and you can just see it. Just the acknowledgement of like, oh, it's so beautiful out there. There's lots of green grass coming up right now. I see there's flowers on the trees that are budding right behind me. There's daffodils out that window. So it's like if we can see that, we can appreciate that beauty and express a little bit of gratitude for that. It makes our life just a little bit sweeter. And that's the goal of all of this. Jim just said our hummingbirds are reappearing. Spring is on. That's right, Jim. Ours is too. We have a beautiful little bird feeder out in front of our kitchen, and those hummingbirds are back in action. We have a beautiful redhead I call Big Red. So that's there. So Carmen, I hope you understand that too, that it doesn't have to be a big deal. For those of us trying to bring on a spiritual practice, it can just be done in little spurts. And eventually, those little spurts become second nature, and we end up doing them out of habit. So, for example, one thing I'll share is, you know, people typically do a grace sometimes when they have dinner, the whole family's together or friends are together, they hold hands and they say grace. They express their gratitude for their food. And there's a way that you can do that yourself. And when I first started doing that, I'd put my hands around my food and I say thank you to the farmers and thank you to the sunshine and to the dirt and to the rain, the female rain and the male rain that helped this plant grow. Thank you to the people who harvested it. Thank you to the people who stocked it on the shelf and to the person who cashed out my order at the grocery store. Thinking of all those people along the way that brought that food into my plate. Now, at first, that becomes a big drawn out ordeal. But now it's like I put my hands out there and in my head, I'm like, thank you so much. Bless up this food. I ask that it treats me well and keeps me healthy. And so there are things that when you become to integrate these habits and routines in your life, they do become second nature and they get a lot easier to just kind of slip in here and there. So that's one thing to think about too, Carmen. Now, there's a lot of ceremonial practices that most of us are already doing. I wrote down a list that came to my head. One of them, burning incense or lighting a candle. So the act of lighting a candle with an intention of remembering an ancestor or honoring that time that you're there, that's one way that we're doing a ceremony already without even thinking about it. When you light that incense, it's like you're spreading the essence of that plant around your space and you're breathing that in, you're smelling that. And that actually makes me think of something I wanted to share before too. When I was talking about energies, sometimes we may feel that we can't see them. So, I talk about living by the river here, and there's a certain energy to that river. When I came into my room, I have a little cedar incense thing, and every now and then I catch a whiff of that cedar. Now, I can't see the smell moving through the air, but when I smell it, I become aware of it. And so, something like that, if you're lighting a candle and you smell that scent of the candle, it's one way to kind of just put a parallel there between energy. There's always energy around us. There's energy in our pets, in our room. If someone has a fight in a room and you walk into it afterwards, you're like, the energy seems weird. And that's not being woo woo. I think we all feel like something feels weird here. You can't see that energy. You can sense it. And, I was just trying to correlate that with the smell of incense too. You may be able to pick that up and go, oh, yeah, I smell something there. So energy works in a similar way. Now, that burning incense is one ceremonial practice. Another one is that traditional prayer that we do with our hands at our heart. Some of us, when we pray, we put our hands at our heart, and that kind of centers that energy right at our chest. We're closing our eyes and we're expressing ourselves. That's a form of ceremony right there. Ceremonial rituals to remember and honor our ancestors. Anytime you think of or talk about your ancestors, you're doing a ceremony right there. Sometimes in certain religions or spiritualities, we fast from food. So Easter is coming up around the corner, and some people will be giving up something for Lent. They're fasting something in their life for Lent. And for those of us that work in some traditional ceremonies, when we do a vision quest, we go without food and water for multiple days. And the hopes and goals that we're there to pray for our life and remove all of those distractions. So removing food or water is another way that you can integrate ceremony into your life if it's for a reason. There's a purpose there. Meditation's an example. Yoga is an example. Prayer is an example. Or intention setting if that word is better for you. Honoring and saying grace. I wrote that down there twice. Crystals and other sacred objects that we make sacred. So this is something too. I have an example here of some of the things that I have found to be sacred. Now, this is just a chess piece. This may mean nothing to anybody else, but to me, my dad got this chess piece or this chess set when he was in the Navy working in the Philippines before I was born. And now that he's passed on, I've kind of held on to this. I have the whole chess set, but on my altar I have just this guy and maybe the queen with him too. But it reminds me of my dad. And it came from him. He bought this. And so when I hold it, I think of my father. When I see it, I think of my father and remember him in that way. So there are lots of tools that we are already doing. Some of you who maybe lost a parent or a friend or a child, you may have saved some of their things and put it in a special place. And to anybody else, it may not mean anything. Like this is just a chess piece to most of you. But to me, this reminds me of my dad. So to me, this is very sacred. And so that's one example of using some tools that we have to make them sacred. Now, some other tools that we use in ceremony, many of you have taken that smudging course that I offer on my website. To that, there are plants that we have, right? The sage that we use, the Palo Santo that we use, the abalone shell that we use. Even though this is just a shell, it's a sacred shell. To me, it's a tool to hold on to all of the energy of the sage or the cedar, whatever I'm burning in here. And for those of you who do the smudging ceremony, when we combine it with our fan and we combine it with our lighter, we hold the 4 directions in our hand. So the east is represented by fire. The south is represented by water, the shell here. The west is represented by the plant, by the earth element. And the north is represented by the air element, which is why we use a fan. So as we're lighting our sage and smudging our home or putting that smoke out there to set some intentions, we're using and allying with the 4 directions to be able to help bring a foundation to the practice that we're doing. And this is something people have done around the world for generations. So it's you participating in that is another way that you're helping to honor the memory of the ancestors that come before us. Sorry, my my allergies been kicking up, so I'm a little dry in the throat. Some other things that we use in terms of ceremony were a fire. I lit the candle before, or the lighter before, but we use fire a lot in ceremonies. We also may use clothing or jewelry. So when you step into ceremony, like I have some really special, a necklace that I use here, a beaded necklace that I will put on when I enter into ceremony. And so when I put this necklace on, I know that I am bringing the highest quality of attention to my movements, to my breath, to everything I do when I'm wearing this necklace. Another thing is clothing too. So in our ceremonies, when we work in our ceremonies, this is my shawl that I use. And so we have these beautiful ribbon work that was made here. Look at that. It's just gorgeous. And so when we're in our ceremonies, if I'm doing something, I'll put this shawl around my shoulders and work with this in a ceremonial way. So when this shawl is on, that also means that I am stepping up into ceremony. I'm bringing the highest quality of attention and connection to my spirit that I possibly can, because I've put on my robe here too. Some other tools that we use are the rattles, right? We use a lot of rattles, and some people may think, hey, that's just for music. You know, when you're singing, you play the rattle. But for those of us that work in these ceremonial ways, this rattle is so much more than that. It helps, especially with the chakras, it helps the person I'm working with realign their chakras and get stuck in stagnant energy to flow through them. And it sounds like this when you spin it that way. So we use these rattles in a different way than what you may think of as just like, oh, I'm just going to dance and sing. Same thing with our drums. I've shown you some of my drums before. Here's another one here. This beautiful drum by my friend Daniel, who will actually be doing a talk with in just a few weeks in our group here. So he's going to talk to us about drums, and he makes these fantastic drums over in Germany. But drumming is another tool that we use to kind of connect into ceremony and to connect to that heartbeat of Mother Earth. And in turn, when we close our eyes and we drum, we kind of journey deepwards, we journey inwards. And it's really a powerful tool. If anyone has ever listened to live drumming, or if they've drummed themselves, or maybe even you put on some earbuds and just listen to a meditation that has drumming in it, that beat of the drum is powerful. And again, this has been used around the world for generations too. So drumming is a really powerful tool that you use for ceremony as well. Now, I know that I, again, have chatted away here. We need to make these talks an hour long. But if anyone has some questions here, I'm gonna come through here real quick. I'll go over a little bit, make sure all your questions are answered. I see Deborah says, so hard to keep my spirits up as a call center rep from home. So many with small petty anger. Could I try to empathize with them, or will that affect me negatively? Deborah, that's a great question. There's a certain unattachment, they say. I was going to say disassociation, but it's not that. It's not being attached to people's emotions or responses to certain things. And Deborah, I'm sure if you're working at a call center from home, you're alone at home most likely, or with your partner, and you're on the phone with these people, and if they're giving you anger, it's easy for me here to say, well, just slough it off, you know, don't be attached to that. But it really comes down to you. It's a process of understanding that these people are going through a stressful time, whatever your situation is. I'm not sure of what you're talking about with them, but they clearly have some anger. And if they're expressing it to you, the thing that I would say is just remember not to take that in, because it's not directed at you. It may be directed at the situation, but you're going to be the punching bag there, and that's what it sounds like. If you empathize with them, it's not going to affect you negatively, but what I would encourage you to remember is to set those boundaries, right? You can empathize with someone who's having a bad day without letting that negative energy come into you. And what I mean by that is just listening, right? If someone is venting and they're angry, okay, go ahead, I'll listen to you. Vent and anger. Okay, you're so angry at this. All right, that's great. And I can understand why you would be angry at that situation. And at the end of the conversation, I don't have to take that anger with me. It's not mine to take, it's theirs. And so for us, the best way, the easiest way, is to do some of the things that we talked about here. Maybe, Deborah, at the end of your shift, light a little bit of sage and just kind of wash it over you and just say, you know, Grandmother Sage, I ask that you take, people have been yelling at me all day and I just want to remove this energy for me. Let me live happy. Let me be happy and enjoy my life. And so doing something like that, you have the ability, we all do, to consciously choose to shift the energy that we're feeling in our life. And I don't mean that in a woo-woo way. I mean that really, you can go out for a walk or jump in the shower, do something to help change that energy for you. I hope that helps there. Bonnie says lighting some candles. Yes, Bonnie, that's a great thing to light. Candlelit room is one of the most romantic and relaxing lights to have in your house. So definitely light some candles there. Jamie says the drums. Yes, Jamie, we will definitely be going into some drums there. Heidi says, I have been in drumming circles and it was such a great feeling and left me feeling great. Heidi, those drum circles are amazing. I used to lead a lot at my old studios that I owned down in Portland, and I've led a couple here too before the pandemic there. Jesse, hello, cousin. Does ceremony have to be or need to be a routine? Can it be driven by a need? Jesse, that's an awesome question. So basically, what I always say is when you personally feel the need to step into ceremony, that's the time to do it, right? If you feel there, it doesn't have to be a routine. What I was saying earlier is like, it doesn't have to be a big deal. If you need, can it be driven by a need? Okay. So if you have a need that you're suffering or you're in pain or you want to connect to something special and sacred, yes, enter that ceremony. Here's the thing to remember. A lot of times with spirituality or religions too, when we're doing well, we don't talk to them, right? When we're doing well, we say, "Oh, great, our life is good. Yeah, yeah." And then once something goes bad, we're like, "God help me. Sacred ones help me. Everyone help me." And so that's just a reminder out there for all of us too to kind of remember the gratitude, right? Express that gratitude on a daily basis. Even if it's just laying in bed when you first wake up in the morning, you can do a little rundown of all the things that you're grateful for, Jesse. You can say, "I'm grateful I have my roof over my head. I've got maybe my partner's next to me, or for me, it's my dog. My dog is next to me. I love my little guy Ash. I'm in this beautiful home. I see the sun coming through the window. It's going to be a good day." So just kind of running those thoughts through your mind, it helps when you feel the need for something heavy. You've already established that routine. You've already established that gratitude circle. And so those are some things that you can do to help implement a daily practice without feeling overwhelmed by that daily practice. And I hope that makes sense for you, Jesse. Let's see. Bonnie, is worth your private session. Great investment. Bonnie, thank you for that plug. Yes, if anyone would like a private session, you can go to my website and there's a services tab there that you can look at. So let's see here. Heidi Finch says, I make gratitude a part of every day. That's a fantastic thing, Heidi. I try to do that too as best I can. Tiffany, thank you for sharing, Mary Lou. I'm sending you strength. If I could take some of your pain, I would. I didn't see my cousin's comment on there, Mary Lou, so I'll go back and look at those over and see. Sandra here. I'm actually trying to connect more with nature as I'm not really an outdoorsy one, especially with the insects, she says. But I do realize that I'm the one with nature. I am one with nature. So how can I start to connect more with nature? Sandra, that's a great question. And this is the thing. You just said it right there. It's like we are a part of nature. We don't even have to try to be a part of nature. We are nature. So I think acknowledging that is the first step. And when I say connect with nature, I don't necessarily mean that I hope that you go out and run 5 miles every day or go hiking 10 miles out in the woods for a full day long. Just sitting out on your deck or your patio or wherever it is in your front steps and just watching, just being aware of what's around you. That's the biggest thing that I want to get across here. I want people, and myself included, to just notice what's happening around us. Notice the flowers coming up. Notice the trees budding. Notice the grass growing. I'll tell you one thing. We hear an eagle here in the morning, and it has this high pitched whistle. It's the sound of a juvenile eagle, and I know it's around here somewhere. Well, a couple of days ago, I heard it and it sounded very close. It sounded like it was in the tree right next to where I sit. And so I started looking in that tree. I was like, there's not an eagle here. Why would an eagle come this close? And when I finally realized it was a stellar jay mimicking an eagle so that it could go fly into the chicken coop and eat their bird food when there are no birds around. So when that whistle of the eagle comes, when it made that noise, all the birds disappeared for a minute and it was able to go in there and eat the bird seed on its own. So it's again just noticing those little things. That was something for me that I was like, that's awesome, like that's cool. I never saw that before. So I hope that helps answer your question there. And so once again, everybody, thank you so much. You are more than welcome to send an email if you have any questions that I didn't see as I was doing this, or if it comes up for you in the next couple of days. Again, if you're watching this on Facebook, like my page. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon. And we're going to be doing our Balancing the Chakras program. Again, this is the first time this is happening. So if you are interested in the VIP membership, there's only 10 available. And I'm doing that because there's just so many hours in the day. So jump on those if you want them. The other ones you can join on up until April 18th. And then after that, we're going to be closing the bookings for that. And maybe we'll do it again later on in the fall. But for those of you who have joined that, I really look forward to going on this journey with you. And again, any questions you have, let me know. I hope you have a great rest of your night, sweet dreams, and I'll see you next time.